I met with my editor a few weeks ago before Christmas to go over the books. And we were saying that I had 3,000 Instagram followers when we first started talking to my publishers. I wanted to get 10K before my book came out last April because I wanted the swipe for when the book came out. And I hit 10K in April. And I think now in January, I'm nearing 33. Hi, I'm Kirsty Gallagher, author of Lunar Living, working with the magic of the moon cycles, and also a moon mentor and transformational coach.
Kirsty, thank you so much for making time to join me on the podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
I'd love for you to just describe a little bit about what little Kirsty was like. Was she ambitious? Did she know what she wanted to be or do? Can you kind of paint that picture for us?
Yeah, I mean, I guess looking back, I was always the different one, shall we say, in my family. And so from a really young age, I've been into astrology and anything alternative. My great auntie was one of my favorite people in the world because she did tarot and read tea leaves and all these. To me, she was just the most sort of mystical, magical person in the entire world. And I remember the days we go over to visit her were some of the most exciting days of my life because she'd, I guess, bring a different perspective in for me, or just bring in that magic that I guess I've always sort of yearned for in life. And so I suppose I've always been a little bit alternative, always veered on sort of the mystical and the magical and the unseen. I've always wanted more, like more out of life. And I suppose I was a really annoying child, and I still like it a little bit now as an adult because I need to know the whys. Like if you're going to tell me to do something, I want to know why. And then I can put my heart and soul into it. So I suppose I'm not a very good rule follower either. So I guess I've always been destined to work for myself. But I was always one of those children, I suppose, that needed the why. Well, why do I need to do that? Why is that happening? Because I just wanted to understand more, I guess, about life and how it worked and what are we doing here and all those age-old questions. I guess I've been asking them from quite a young age.
That's such perfect context and gives so much insight into what you're doing now as well. And I guess, we're probably around a similar age. And at that point in your life, you were kind of given a list of job options or a sort of set of parameters around what you could be when you grew up.
Yes.
And, for me, business coach or founder of an online digital industry platform was not on the list, right? Like I didn't know that was a possibility, and I'm sure you were the same.
Yeah.
And so I guess, did you imagine that there was a career path where you could bring that into a job and be that when you kind of grew up, I guess, in inverted commas?
No, because if you'd have ever said to us, like, you used to have those little career coaches at school, didn't you?
Yeah.
Visit the career coach. And they, again, like you say, would have a sheet of paper that would have things like just listed on, like secretary, or if you were a bit cleverer, maybe doctor, or
right.
And who would ever have thought that there could be a career where you get to teach people about how to live in alignment with the moon? Even when I brought out my first book, which came out in the first lockdown last year, when we were all like, oh my God, and it became a Sunday Times bestseller. I still joke now as if a book about the moon became a Sunday Times bestseller. And so, no, maybe not. But I guess from early 20s, maybe I had that call in me that there was a deeper calling for me beyond the parameters, as you quite rightly say, that were set out, beyond the 9 to 5, beyond the traditional job roles, into something that was more passion-led and heart-led and soul-led. And what I really, really have always wanted to do, and the main driver, honestly, in my business today, is that I just wanted to make a difference. And I remember working in marketing, was the last job in travel I did. And I remember sometimes feeling like it was, I'd get to the end of a day and wouldn't feel like I'd necessarily helped or done any good or not done anything worthwhile, because I understand some people's purpose is meant to be marketing and they are incredible marketeers and that is their soul calling, but it just wasn't mine.
I'd love to know what one thing you wish you'd known when you first started out on your business journey.
I honestly, nothing comes to me initially, because every stage has been such a gift in the learning and the growth, and the struggles are what really, really made me. And so I don't wish I'd been able to avoid any of those struggles at all, really, because every one was such a massive learning curve that propelled me to a next level, that I'm kind of glad I just went into it all a bit more unknown and faced everything as it came, because those struggles are what really made me.
What's one thing that you wish you had maybe done sooner in your business?
I think believed in myself more. I really do. I played small for a very, very long time. And I knew even in the gym classes I was at, the impact that I had on those people that came to classes, but I still stayed here and didn't ever let myself go there. I still believed for a long time, and probably up until recently, that no one was really that interested in what I had to say and the difference that what I have to teach and offer can make. And so I would have believed in myself more.
How do you practically cultivate that? What flipped the switch for you?
I think in just, again, staying true to my message, even when it wasn't really being heard in the beginning, and seeing how that grew and grew and grew and grew. And so it's really funny, actually. I met with my editor a few weeks ago before Christmas to go over the books. And we were saying that I had 3,000 Instagram followers when we first started talking to my publishers. I wanted to get 10K before my book came out last April, because I wanted the swipe for when the book came out. And I hit 10K in April. And I think now in January, I'm nearing 33. And so the growth that happened has happened so quickly by me still giving that almost same message to 3,000 as to 33,000, of just continuing to show up, and then realizing that people do want to listen, and the more people coming in and more people listening and more people asking for it and more people coming in. And so again, it's just believing in yourself enough to say the words and then watch that community begin to grow.
And it's so important to believe in yourself when you've got those 3,000 people following you, or three people following you. Why do you do what you do?
I love it. I can't not. I can't not.
Love it. Simple answer. What's the best part about your job?
Community, I think. Gathering together a community of women, of like-minded women, of helping people to know that they're not alone in anything, in what we're going through right now, in believing in the moon, in whatever it is. I just love that sense of community and bringing people together.
And finally, what would you say is the best piece of advice that you've received along the way that's really supported you and helped you?
I always come back to this piece of advice, and that is be careful who you listen to. And so the meaning behind that is, you're not going to take money advice off someone who's bankrupt. You're not going to take relationship advice off someone who's always single or always in a bad relationship. And so again, I think be careful who you listen to, because people are going to give you advice based on their own opinion and understanding and their own fears and limitations. And so again, saying to someone, I'm going to quit my job and go to India, if they are in that stable 9 to 5, they're going to be the, oh no, don't do that. How many people probably got told last year, oh, don't start a business in a global pandemic? No, you don't start a business in a pandemic. How many people started that business and smashed it? So be careful who you listen to. I'm only going to take advice of someone who's kind of already doing what it is that I want to do. And so I always say that, just be careful who you listen to. Take advice off those people who are living their truth in alignment with what it is that they want, going after what they want and really living their purpose. So yeah, I always come back to that. And again, in a similar way, I'm only really going to take criticism off you if I'm going to come to you for advice. If I'm not going to come to you for advice, I've not got time to sit and listen to you tell me everything I'm doing wrong in the world and in my life. And so just be careful who you listen to.
I guess I'd love to know what some of those first steps were. You've hinted at your journey to India as being a kind of physical first step, but can you talk us through those initial stages of, I guess, training, qualifying, building up this skill set or knowledge base that would become your career?
Of course. I guess I just love to refer back to the beautiful point you made then around some people needing longer in the job than others. And I also feel like timing is everything. And I talk to people about this a lot when they see me now doing what I'm doing and they're like, I want to do the same. The job that I was in before I went to India, I knew for about 2.5 years I wanted to go to India, but I had to save the money. I had to get in the right place in myself. And I can still picture myself there now. I used to sit in the toilet at work and cry nearly every day, because I used to say to the universe, like, I know what I want to do and I know where I want to go and I can't get there, and why. But I understand if I'd have gone to India just one day sooner, I wouldn't be sat here with you now talking about this with you now, because I wasn't ready. The timing wasn't right. The journey wasn't quite in place yet. And so, to answer your original question, I started exploring probably around my mid-20s with things like angel cards and crystals and Reiki. And I did all those kind of things. I became a regressional therapist. I became a Reiki healer. I became a crystal healer. Loved all of those things, but they again weren't my passion. They weren't my calling. I'd be doing Reiki treatments and being like, oh, I've only done this for 4 minutes. Is it not finished yet? And I then did, it sounds really silly, I know, but I did one yoga class and I was like, this is it. Because yoga to me gave me an answer to every question about life. When you look into the philosophy of yoga, it's so rich and so beautiful and brings so many answers. And that's when I knew I wanted to be a yoga teacher, but I knew I wanted to go to India and train where yoga came from, where the roots of yoga really were. I knew I wanted a very traditional type of training, which I know many people don't necessarily have the luxury or the time to do, but that's really what I felt in my heart I wanted to do. And so that's when I put into place wanting to go. And in that time running up to it, I quit my job twice because there were days it just got too much. I got promoted and given a pay rise, which then enabled me to save a little bit more money, which then enabled me to finally, in I think it was about June of 2009, I just quit my job, got a one-way ticket to India.
Going back to some of those early days of teaching your first yoga classes, how long did it take you before you felt that you were able to comfortably earn a living from this new career to not necessarily replace your old income, but be in a position where you felt like this could be a legitimate job that you could, tell your family was supporting you and all of those things?
Yeah. I don't know if there was ever a defining moment really whereby I felt that. And I know that this maybe isn't what you want to hear or the listeners want to hear, but I understand there's a financial element to it, but it was never for me about getting to a stage where I met an earning potential. For me, I'd never been richer in my life because I genuinely loved what I was doing. I genuinely loved every class I went to. I feel like I retired the day I went to India. I feel like I haven't worked a day since. I really don't feel like I've worked a day since in the last 11, 12 years. I just don't. And so for me, it was more that feeling of success came from being able to work my own hours, being able to take days off in the middle of the week when I needed to, being able to genuinely love what I did every day, never get out of bed again with an alarm, being like, oh God, I've got to go to work. That to me was the initial marker of success.
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong, I was incredibly lucky when I came back from India that I moved back in with my mum. And had I not had that support of having somewhere to live, it probably would have taken me longer to be able to do it, for sure. And I know that many people work a side job as well in yoga, particularly building up to that level of a career where you can support yourself. But I'd say probably at least within the first year, I'd have been in a position to be able to say that I was managing, I was comfortable, that this was, because again, I think your needs change when you're working in a corporate environment where you don't necessarily love what you do. You spend more on externals, the clothes, shoes to try to make you happy, the nights out to try to bring back a little bit of that joy in your life. You spend more. Whereas when you're working for yourself and you're loving what you're doing, you need so much more less, because you need much less. You don't need as much external stimulation.
Right.
So I found that as well, that also helped, that I dread to think how much I used to spend on nights out and clothes and shoes and cars and all those things that we try and get to almost validate our existence. I didn't need any of that anymore. And I still don't really need any of that.
Such good wisdom. So much wisdom. Thank you so much, Kirsty. I have loved this episode so much.
Too. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for making time. And I know that our listeners are going to have taken so much gold from that. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you.